Okay, hi there boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Right, the Chimera Phantom Tier 8 Premium medium tank, and I'd had this in the garage for a little while and I hadn't really played it. It was something I obviously bought as an offer quite a long time ago, and I hadn't really played the tank. And I was on a credit grind recently, so when you're on a credit grind you jump into tier 8 mediums, right? Tier 8 premiums. So I got a few games in with this tank, and it's a very interesting tank. I mean, it's not ridiculously fast, but it's not slow. It hasn't got troll armor, but you will take the odd bounce. It's got a pretty big gun mantlet, so if you stay hold down and keep your gun pointed at the bad guys, you've got a chance of taking a bounce. But the biggest strength of this tank, and what this tank is all about, is the gun. The gun is absolutely fantastic. Well, even with double rations and all the things running, it's got a long reload for a medium. It's 14 seconds, but it just does huge amounts of alpha. I was getting anything between sort of 420 and 500 alpha on a max roll in this tank, which for a medium at tier 8 is ludicrous. So yeah, it's all about the gun, and you know, just by sort of keeping the tank alive and keeping your gun firing, which is ideally what you want to be doing in a medium tank, if you manage to get round a flank and pour in some damage. I mean, just by the fact that you're throwing in that amount of damage per shot, as long as you connect, you're going to do some pretty decent damage numbers in this tank. I mean, I was quite regularly getting over 3k damage games, and they weren't particularly spectacular games. So yeah, it's all about the gun. I mean, obviously the playstyle is a bit different because you do have that long reload. And yeah, the more I played it, the more I found I quite enjoyed this tank. Now, yeah, if you are on a flank with a lot of meds around you, especially some fast firing meds, especially in a tier 9 game, come up against a couple of T54s, you've got your hands full, because as I say, the reload is 14 seconds long. But if you can keep it relatively safe out the way and use this to just poke every 15 seconds or so and whack in some big amounts of alpha, you're going to be doing fairly good damage for your team. So I must admit, it's an odd tank to drive. It's a different sort of meta from a normal tier 8 medium, but the more I played it, the more I actually quite enjoyed it. So it's not a tank I think comes into the store very often, but I have to say that I really did have some pretty fun games in this tank. Now, here we are on Alpenstadt, and as you can see, quite unusual game for Alpenstadt, this one, in that everything seems to have pushed over onto the med flank, and I'm having a bit of problem with that AMX there. It's quite an awkward tank sometimes to deal with, that one. So I've been struggling to get a few penetrations in, and I've taken a bit of damage. And what we need now is we really do need our heavies to get up here, because we're doing our best to try and deal with most of the enemy team on this flank. Thankfully, our heavies are now coming into the battle. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, I haven't done anything particularly spectacular in this game so far. In fact, I had at least 2 shots into the tracks of that AMX there. But we're still over 2200 damage, and the gun is fine. It's also quite accurate. You don't really struggle too much with dispersion on it. And like I say, I just found myself enjoying. I mean, there we go. Another 480 alpha was that. Now, yeah, it's not a tank you want to be frontlining. It's not something that you want to be getting into brawls with. But for this kind of play, just hitting things, I mean, you can do some good damage numbers here. I mean, not a particularly spectacular game. It's an interesting game because we all ended up on this one flank, but nothing too spectacular there. And I mean, that's 3,200 damage, and wasn't a particularly good game. The reason I sort of put it in was to highlight that you don't necessarily need to be having a fantastic game in the tank. If you keep the gun alive long enough, you're going to be doing some pretty good damage numbers, especially if you keep it around until you get into an end game situation with low hit point tanks. Quite often I was finding myself clearing 2 or 3 tanks at the end of a battle. Every single time I fired, I was getting a kill, because obviously hit point pools have been somewhat reduced, and you're doing the big alpha with that gun. I mean, this is producing more alpha than some heavies at this tier. So it's an interesting one, and it's one that I did sort of quite enjoy playing the more and more I got on with it. And as you can see, we're hopefully just about in the process of clearing this game out. The shark there clears up the last one for the win, but yeah, not at all spectacular, but yeah, 3,200 damage, and the amount of top damage players that I got in this tank was quite considerable, which is fantastic for a tier 8 premium medium, and it's not a bad earner at all. Okay, we're here. Now this is an interesting game, this, because I've noticed this a lot recently. A lot of med tanks, a lot of light tanks, they're not pushing flanks the way that perhaps players did a little while ago. Now, as you can see, I'm outnumbered on this flank. It's a 2 to 1. I can't leave the flank uncontested, because that just means that the meds will get up here and cause absolute havoc. I think in the last few games, I've highlighted games where we've managed to get round an enemy flank and cause absolute mayhem. And that is what we should be doing as a med driver. If you can get your gun in the game behind the enemy heavies and TDs, you're going to farm damage, and that's what meds are for. So if the other team aren't going to contest flanks, they really are making it very easy. Now, I'm being very cautious here, because I'm expecting to see 2 medium tanks here, and I'm not. They're just not about. They've completely abandoned this flank. Even if I had faced 2 of them, I would have definitely had my hands full. I'd have tried to keep my tank intact, inflict as much damage as I could, but at least made sure that the other meds, the enemy meds, wouldn't have been able to clear this flank and start farming into the back of the heavies. That would have been a difficult game for me, but that is kind of your role. But these guys just haven't contested this flank at all, and I've noticed it in a few games now with meds. It seems to be an odd thing that they're just not contesting the med flank. So I'm more than happy to have this flank almost to myself, put a bit of distance between me and the targets, and do what this tank is good at, which is things like that. You know, lobbing huge amounts of alpha. I mean, we only hit the AMX twice there, and he's almost down to 1 shot. He made it very easy. I mean, just sitting there out in the open, but didn't at all try to contest this flank. Now, if he'd have come up this flank and been around me with that level of speed and that auto-loading gun, he'd have caused a huge amount of problems. As it is, he's left this entire back door open for me to get this gun to work. What's that, 475? So, yep, straight into Santa Meal over there. Yeah, it's an odd characteristic I've noticed coming into the game when people are doing it, and it really does leave your the top damage dealers on your team, i.e. your TDs and your heavies, it really does leave them rather exposed. Beautiful shot there, straight through the top of Santa Meal, and yet we've hit him twice, and he's reduced down to 1 shot. And as you see, we fired 4 shots. We're up to nearly 1,800 alpha. And now we're in and amongst the enemy heavies with lots of targets, able to put this gun to work. This is the what you risk if you really don't, as a med driver, if you allow the enemy team to just come round and start farming damage, and it's going to make this a very, very easy win. Again, another tight shot there, but as you can see, the gun is more than capable of making them. So yeah, it's I mean, we're almost getting back to the video I did about knowing your role, but to leave one flank completely open when you've got med superiority is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's simply going to make it very easy for me to get the sides of turrets just like that, and whacking huge amounts of alpha into tanks that I should be struggling with. And as you can see, I mean, over 3,000 damage now, and really haven't done anything too spectacular, but picking up a lot of damage. We're finally going to get the final shot on Mr. St. Emile here, clear him up. And I think we've got a VK-168 in here, and I think I managed to get one shot into him and then go for a bit of ram to try and finish him off, and I think I end up getting killed. I mean, a couple of points. Not a particularly spectacular game. Not a spectacular game by any stretch of the imagination, but 3,700 damage there. And again, once we got round the flank and started pouring in the damage, a pretty easy win. So it is a risk if you're going to leave those flanks unchallenged, and you do run the risk of somebody doing exactly what I did there, which is get round the flank and put in loads of damage. Okay, for our final game in this tank, we're on Faust, and first things first, I'm going to quickly dash into what is very quickly becoming one of my favourite little spots here at the beginning of the game in a med. So we're going to get an overlook on the sea cap here, waiting for some nice heavy to go in there and try and get what he thinks is a safe cap, and there we are. Thank you very much, Mr. Emile, and have one of those in the side. That's a big lump to be losing in the first 30 seconds of the battle. Get our reload on. Of course, he's invested now. He's still going to try and cap it. So let's get a second one into him, shall we? One of the teammates gets one in. I managed to stick another one in, and very quickly, the Emile wasn't necessarily doing something wrong. I mean, there are places where you can cap there and avoid that happening. But yeah, he's reduced down to a one shot very, very quickly. One, because taking up good position there, and secondly because of the damage that this gun is doing. So we're going to go up here and join our friend who's pushed on this flank. He's managed to reduce down one of these tanks to a one shot. We've got a couple of TDs in support there. So we're going to get round here now and see if we can get these guys cleared up, potentially take the cap as well whilst we're up here. And then see what damage we can cause for the rest of the game. So come round here. I'd much rather be getting a high alpha shot, but I'm always an advocate if you've got a kill shot to clear a gun, do it. So we get that guy cleared. Now I do want to take this cap, but I don't want this guy running away and starting to use his gun again, so we're going to come down here and get this guy cleared up for kill number 2. There we go. And then we're going to just quickly dash back. We're looking okay with regard to the overall disposition in the game. We are tanks up, we're a base up, so I'm just going to stick this cap on and then see if we can get in and start causing more havoc. And as you can see, I mean, again, nothing too spectacular so far at all, but up to over 1,500 damage. Cap to base, got 2 kills, and there's still plenty of enemy hit points on offer here. So we've managed to cap the base out now, and everything seems to be happening around the D cap. So time to head over here and yeah, let's get this gun to work, shall we? Have a quick look, and yes, thank you very much. Gonna stick one through the side of the turret there and kill him for kill number 3. So again, rinse and repeat, shall we? Let's get round here. As you can see, some of these tanks are starting to look a little bit low on hit points. Absolutely perfect environment for this kind of gun. So we're going to drive past here, ignore this guy. We're going to clear up this TD, get his gun out of the game as quickly as possible. There's kill number 4. And our friend down here now, he's obviously got targets to his front. Gives me a quick look. Wait for his turret to turn again. Thank you. Side of his turret, and have some of that 450 alpha. Reduced down on one shot now. It's just it's a fun gun to play with, this one, especially when you get yourself into these positions. So yeah, hello my friend, there we go. Clear him up for kill number 5, and as you can see, because I've been sort of shooting at distance, I haven't really taken a lot of damage here. So we've got an opportunity now to farm up on this fella a bit. And again, this is normal AP round, so I'm not having any difficulty getting shots into the lower plate of a heavy tank there. Hit the adrenaline, get the old reload going on just perhaps a little bit faster, and there we go. Thank you very much. Clear him up for kill number 6. So a couple of things from there. Yep, obviously the gun on this thing is fantastic, and don't allow it to get round your flanks and get that gun to use. You see one of these on the enemy team, be aware that that's probably how they're going to drive it. Alright, boys and girls, thank you very much for watching. And as always, like, subscribe, good hunting, bye for now.